Lisa MacLeod, PC MPP for Nepean. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
So Robin Martin took the fight the first week, and then it was more MPPs on Tuesday with that vote. What was the feeling behind standing up and doing this? Because I hope there's not a third one, but I wouldn't be surprised. But more people stood up. Why?
Yeah, well, look, I would have joined her. I wasn't in the House on the Thursday. Very well publicized as bipolar, so I needed to go change some medication. So I couldn't be there. But I told Robin immediately, "You're right. The Speaker is right. We have rules and procedures in a place to protect the minority from the tyranny of the majority. And right now, the Jewish community is under threat in the province of Ontario, and the rules of the House must protect our Jewish members from that type of threat." And some may say, well, wearing a scarf is not a threat. However, in this instance, since October the 7th, this is objectionable attire that distracts the legislature from doing the job that it should be doing, which is working on health care, child care, local finances, municipal affairs, and reforms and those types of things. The Speaker made a ruling, and Robin Martin stood up for the rules and procedures of the House and defended the Speaker. And so I thought they both did the right thing. And then, of course, over the weekend, I made it very clear that if this happened again, I would be there, and was proud to stand with her and several others. I mean, there were a lot of people that were very, very supportive. But people are afraid at the beginning. One, because you see what happened in my city of Ottawa past weekend with people, protesting, wearing the keffiyeh, wearing these fake suicide vests to intimidate. And really what these protesters that are pro-Hamas are doing are trying to intimidate, harass, and threaten those of us who want to stand up for the Jewish community, the world order, and peace, order, and good governance in Canada. And so some people don't have the backbone, that Robin Martin does or Ted Arnott does.
Yeah, look, she was right. It's hard to stand when so many sit, but she did that. And I would point out, and most viewers or listeners would not be wary of this, is that as this issue was being discussed at Queen's Park, there were a bunch of protesters in cafes started shouting "Free Palestine," proving, I don't know if they realized it, but they proved why you can't wear these things, right? That's not what, it's supposed to be neutral.
Well, the ironic thing, too, is you look at the photos. I think it was Robert Benzie sent out. It was like 3 white women, and a couple of them had the Queen's Park lanyards on, so they were staff. Like, give me a break. If you're going to prove a political point, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it was not lost on me. Having said that, it was a free vote yesterday, according to the Premier, but that wasn't the case, as I understand, last week. And so I was surprised that the Premier even took this stance. He should be able to say, look, we've got rules and there's an important reason for it. But why are you not allowed to speak freely or members allowed to speak freely about this? And is there a reason?
Well, look, I wasn't there. My understanding is that there was really sort of a two-tiered approach there, that some members of the Premier's office just wanted folks to vote with the Premier's wishes, and that other members of the leadership were very much lackadaisical. Wasn't there, so I can't really comment. I can say this about the Premier. He took us through COVID, which was a very difficult time for this province. And whether you agreed with our policies or not during that time, his number one goal was to keep the well-being of Ontarians at first in focus of his mind. And I think, in his heart of hearts, he truly believes that, we should all just get along. And I think that's a noble goal. But I just see
but it's
from
naive,
my background.
Right?
Well, I think when I look at, I've been elected for 18 years. My husband is a defensive foreign policy expert, so I'm hearing this every single day. The reality is now that what has happened in the Middle East has spilled over into our streets. And what happened on October the 7th will happen here if we do not take a stand and we do not stand up to those who are threatening, bullying, harassing, intimidating the Jewish population. I mean, there should be bubble zones, in my opinion, around communities that have large Jewish populations right now, similar to what we have at abortion clinics, because I've never in my life, and I'm going to be 50, I never in my life have seen such antagonism in this entire country. I mean, I'm not just talking about Toronto or Ottawa. I'm talking about the entire country against a religious minority. And many of these religious minority members are people who've contributed greatly to our country. They're the people who are the greatest philanthropists on our university campuses, and those university campuses are turning on them. They're the greatest philanthropists that we've had for our hospitals, and some of their administration is turning on them. And to me, if they don't feel safe, then are we safe as a nation? And so I'm going to use my little voice from Nepean with that seat with the microphone in front of it every chance I get to support the Jewish community in the province of Ontario and beyond. And I want to say, and Robin Martin, I can't say enough about her. Yeah,
she's definitely tough. And as I know her, I mean, she definitely stands her ground, which is not always easy. And certainly, I think, look, we've had very, very few standing in office against a lot of the hate that we're seeing, which is why 7 months in, we're still seeing it all over the streets of this country. Is there any penalty, though? Because, look, we've got a by-election going on in Milton, no secret. There is a big part of the Muslim vote there. Is it, and we've heard that this is part of the reason that Doug Ford doesn't want this talked about, doesn't want to spoil anything. But for me, this moment's bigger than votes. But is that what this is about, is not offending anybody?
Well, you know what? Only he could answer that question. I can say he knows where I stand, and he's been very supportive of where I stand and where I've come from. We've had a great conversation yesterday. I think that Doug has a huge heart, and I think he understands too that this is a big province, and some of us come from different types of ridings, and we stand up for our beliefs, and he allowed us to do that yesterday, and I was really grateful. I would have done it anyway. I'm honest about this. Like, I've now, 18 years, 6 terms into the Ontario Legislature. I think I've earned the right to stand up and speak my mind and defend what I believe to be the values of the province of Ontario and where I think we're going in the wrong direction. And I would just encourage every single politician. And you know what? You can support Palestine. That's fine. But you should never, ever support, as a politician, the violence, the threats, and the intimidation that are going on in the streets of Toronto and Ottawa and elsewhere. And that to me is a no-go, and we are a government, and I don't see government as a progressive conservative government. We are an institution. We are a province that values peace, order, and good governance. And when we throw that away, those protections that should be afforded to every single Ontarian, when we throw that away for a few, then we've thrown it away for another group of people next. And that's the dangerous precedent that many of these politicians that think they're riding on a favorable or popular enterprise are doing to the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Normalizing it is just going to make it worse. Well, we appreciate your time on it, and hopefully we won't see another vote, but we'll stay tuned. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Alex. Take care.